It's no secret that for many moons, the typical CIO had a vital yet simply defined role. But with digital everything driving every industry, the role of CIO and its underlying function have evolved from an in-house utility to a much more strategic function that is explicitly tied to business goals. CEOs now look to the CIO as change influencers, focused on improving top-line business revenue rather than solely on delivering business process automation and cost reduction. All of this at a time of incredible technological change and unparalleled macro disruption. So what does the future of the CIO look like? I'm Kate Russell, and today I'm at Workday Rising EMEA in Barcelona, speaking to IT leaders and experts with their finger on the pulse of these trends, and to try and understand what the future of the role will look like and what technology leaders should be focused on today.
The main challenge facing the IT function today is being able to deliver at the speed required by the enterprise. So we are now in a world where organizations will often say that they take a digital-first strategy. So that is, they'll look straight to technology when a challenge arises on their agenda, and it's an enormous opportunity for the IT function, being able to step into that key role of helping address those challenges. But of course, with that comes pressure. There is the need to deliver solutions at the speed that is required by the business, and that might be in weeks or months rather than years.
The emerging trends that IT leaders need to have these days, I think, is becoming very interesting. Most importantly, it's really thinking about how to use enterprise platforms to solve their business. And the reason for that is we're slowly, well, maybe rapidly moving away from custom code into predefined code inside of these platforms, and then having to stitch those together to create what's referred to as the composable enterprise. That is probably the number one thing that we see happening right now, and specifically because businesses are modernizing across the board. And so things that have been around for 20 years, like core banking systems or insurance systems, are now being retired. And that is creating really the level of activity we're seeing in the market.
It's a strange time. I think it's a time of massive change. There's a lot changing in the industry right now. Obviously, generative AI solutions. So what excites me is embracing that, but doing it in a consistent way so that it's controlled, but we make best use of the technology that's available.
For CIOs, it's really important to understand that CIOs are really at the center of the C-suite, and they are responsible for orchestrating data and technology. So the role of a CIO has really come far from kind of that more back office and being a cost center to really being that orchestrator from a C-suite perspective. That can provide challenges, but it's a really exciting time for CIOs to be able to enable their organizations to be as productive as possible and ensuring that there is as much reduction to risk as possible, but while also ensuring that resources are being applied to be far more productive as a result of these innovative technologies and transformational technologies that we're actually seeing. So the challenges that could go with that is that, for example, if some organizations haven't gone through a level of ERP modernization, it's really important that they start to review their landscapes now, because with especially AI coming down the line, and as I said, it has been here in the past, it's very important that that foundation is already set.
Interoperability is, I think, key in order to transform your company, because it provides you the ability to connect certain, I would call it clouds, or certain data together in a seamless way. And by bringing that seamless way, actually you will get new data insights or lakes that provides very interesting data as we speak. And I think you see that in all types of data, customer data, but let's also look at employee data, because if you look at the way we have implemented Workday in Accenture, actually by bringing data together around skills, around what they learn and how they train, and how they're embracing new knowledge, yes, and apply that in their day-to-day activities, that is actually is helping us to get really that great data insights and build trust around what we're seeing. And that Workday has been a great platform for us to do that for 700,000 people in Accenture.
I think the main challenge is facing IT functions and leaders today is ironically the democratization of IT, meaning that people like I who don't code can actually go and do things like generative AI or low code, no code. That's going to change the talent profile that they are required to go get, but it's also going to put more pressure on them from the business. And there's always been a bit of a rift between the business and IT. This either has the opportunity to bridge that rift or it could make the rift bigger.
I think integration and interoperability, or process continuity, as I would call it, are key to the future of the IT function, the future of the enterprise. Ultimately, in 2023 and beyond, we're in a world where customers expect joined up digital processes that deliver that continuity, particularly when it comes to customer experience. So ultimately, the IT function needs to find ways of delivering that digital continuity to give customers what they expect and require.
For me, it's all about the I in the CIO. It's about information, and the quality of the information is going to become ever so more important with the rollout of AI. If the data's not good, what you get out of it is not going to work. So having clean, consistent data and being in control of that, I think, is going to be key as we roll out that technology.
There is definitely a trust gap between IT leaders and employees regarding AI. And that's because a lot of it is still uncertain. We don't know some of the unintended consequences that could come from that. So that's going to require IT leaders and even the business leaders and even other people to really be open about the fact they're not sure what that is. And that's an okay answer at the moment because there is no certainty. But that tension between everything you hear in the news, like there'll be no jobs left, it'll be AI and a bunch of robots, it is definitely overdone and overburnt. But is there going to be impacts? Absolutely.
I wouldn't say there's necessarily a trust gap between employees and the IT function when it comes to AI, maybe more an expectations gap. So, of course, artificial intelligence and particularly generative AI has hit the mainstream press, the general population, and that includes all of our employees, of course, are now well aware of the power or the potential power of generative AI and AI more broadly. But, of course, converting that into something meaningful for the enterprise, which is a responsibility which ultimately falls on the IT function, is, of course, more complex, more challenging. So there's there's a gap, but I would say it's an expectation gap rather than a trust gap.
Great question. So I think the role of CIO will change quite dramatically, and that is mainly caused by what I call data and AI and Gen AI. Especially the Gen AI part is going to have an inflection point for the CIO in terms of who and how it needs to skill their people, their talent, what they have today, but also how they will enable the future of Gen AI in terms of processes, in terms of intelligence, in terms of automation, etc. So I think that's a big change for the CIO for the next year.
My biggest prediction right now for 2024 in the IT space is that I believe all the platform businesses will all grow at plus 15% in the market, because I do believe large enterprises are really going to continue at a very heavy pace to make the modern investments they need to do for lots of various reasons, none of which is the inflationary cost base has gone up well over double digits. That's not coming back down. It may slow, so they're going to have to re-engineer and get the cost out of the business.
If we were standing here at the early part to the mid part of last year, could I have predicted what happened in terms of that hype with Gen AI? Possibly not.
You could have asked Gen AI, but it wouldn't have known.
It wouldn't have known at the time. So I think the next 24 months is what it's really going to bring is for organizations to really embed. It's embed the future in terms of what we're delivering with this transformational technologies that actually is very revolutionary revolutionary in terms of how everything can be delivered. It's important for organizations to really look at their use cases and ensuring that the use cases apply to their organizations. And it's really important that they help their organizations and their employees make that change, okay? So there's a lot of interpretation around generative AI, and what's important for the CIO is that they really can help and manage that change, help their employees to understand that this is about ensuring that they can take advantage and be far more productive in terms of really enabling their human potential. And that means is that their employees can do far more and concentrate on more the strategic areas of their job and really focus on what needs to be delivered. And technologies like AI will manage the rest.